It's an incredible honor and inspiration to attend the WICE Awards. With so much talent, hard work, and sheer determination in one room. Tonight is all about recognizing your achievements and the way you make our industry more inclusive, more diverse, more colorful, and just better in all ways possible. It's been 5 years since I was awarded Best Woman Civil Engineer and Distinguished Winner at the WICE Awards. It's great to know what kind of crowd we have. I thought I'd structure my keynote this evening like a Christopher Nolan film, using parallel timelines to jump between the present and my WICE journey back in 2019. I'll share the 3 key ways that winning has impacted on my life and career, and we'll move both in time and place from London to end our journey in Rwanda. Like the films Memento or Inception, but with a much lower budget and a few more bending moments. Winning the WICE Awards impacted 3 big parts of my professional life. Very quickly, I found myself becoming an increasingly unapologetic advocate for women in engineering. I felt the responsibility to speak up because people were suddenly listening. So, for those women who have been there as the only woman on site, who's had to ask a male colleague for the key to the female toilet/cleaning cupboard, who have waded through sites in PPE that is 3 sizes too large, or have cried at work and wondered why you endure the comments, the stares, maybe a lot worse, whilst fighting the gender pay gap, but you're still here today, you're still in the industry, and you're still standing. I was with you then, and I am with you now. Tonight, we continue to acknowledge that those moments are still very real problems in our industry. On a lighter note, for me, the WICE Awards in 2019 was the first time where I stepped into a room as an engineer and I truly felt like I fit in. No one questioned why I was there, my qualifications or my abilities, except for the WICE judges, but that was their job. Speaking of judges, let's do a first jump back to 2019. I pull out my chair, I'm extremely nervous, and I take a seat in front of 3 WICE judges. I was presenting in the last slot of that day. Throughout the day, I had been so nervous I didn't speak to anybody. I wasn't able to hold a single coherent conversation with my table mates. Thankfully, I had the sense to speak to people afterwards. I reached out to one of my judges, Anusha Shah, and I asked her for a few mentor meetings because we had a project in common. Team 2100, the Thames Flood Defense Barrier, where I was the lead temporary works engineer. Little did either of us know at that time that she would go on to become the Institution of Civil Engineers' 3rd female president, their 1st president of color, and a vocal advocate for nature and people-positive solutions. Only in retrospect did I realize that I was not sitting in front of 3 judges. I was sitting in front of 3 potential mentors who wanted me to succeed. So if you don't have a good mentor already, this room is filled to the brim with brilliant minds. WICE helped me realize one very important thing. Mentors come in all shapes, ages, and sizes. Which leads me to the second and slightly more unexpected impact that the WICE Awards had. It was here that I found my support group, my personal pep talkers, my role models, and my inspirations. Not in the form of an older and wiser Gandalf to show me the way to Mordor, but through fellow hobbits who would adventure by my side. Women who were just like me, going through the same challenges and coming up with resilient, creative, and badass ways of solving problems. Okay, second flashback to 2019. 3 of my then colleagues, now close friends, were up against each other in the same category, Best Young Woman in Construction. All 3 of them inspirational. We are talking an Oxbridge graduate who set up reverse mentoring in our company. We're talking a Graduate of the Year award winner. We're talking intelligent, kind, caring, and fun engineers. Between us, we wondered, how are the judges going to differentiate between three incredible women who are all trailblazing and improving the world around them at an incredible rate? So can you imagine? We were all sitting right here at this very award night in nervous anticipation, and they announced the winner. And it's not one of the three. Our jaws dropped to the floor. A fourth woman had swooped in and won that category. That woman must have been incredible. So go talk to these incredible people who are here tonight. Find out why they were nominated, what you have in common, and what you have that's uncommon. To quote Bryony, my WICE-nominated colleague turned friend, I've been up against each of these women for promotions, awards, and recognition throughout my entire career. But every success I've had has been supported by initial push to go for it, a pep talk, or a last-minute late-night run-through of a presentation, or a keynote speech. Our experience has been that if there is room for one woman at the top, she will create more seats for more women. She will nominate and mentor them in a room full of opportunities. Another one of my WICE-nominated colleagues turned close friends, Lina, and I were so inspired by the amazing support network that we had found following the WICE Awards that we set up an online women's collective called She Builds, which later followed by the Engineering Rebuilt podcast. And that was to allow others to benefit from the strength of a professional network and friendship like we had in those times where you feel the most alone. We based it on the founding principle of Genius, or collective genius. You know when you work on a project and you take a step back and you think, wow, I helped build that. It's what draws so many of us into construction in the first place. Pointing to the skyline, crossing a bridge, entering a station with family or friends, and being able to say, I built that. A day job where you provide clean water, sustainable energy, green transportation, and safe housing to millions of people. The opportunity to be part of something bigger that you thought you would never achieve on your own. Teamwork is often considered a key attribute for engineers. And it's true. We all know it takes hundreds, if not thousands of people to bring projects from design through to reality. Yet when we think of engineering role models, we attribute entire infrastructure projects to a single individual, like Gustav Eiffel, Bazalgette, or Isambard Kingdom Brunel, single-handedly engineering the Great Western Railway, supposedly. But there's good news for the rest of us. Geniuses don't just pop up. Good work isn't only done in isolation, and there isn't only room for one at the top. So introducing Genius, the collective genius. Many successful individuals can emerge from the same scene, elevating each other to perform better. Brian Eno, pioneer of ambient music, termed this observation Genius, a scene or a collective of people exchanging ideas, tools, and techniques, where great people come together and they make things even better. So let's time hop. It's 1818, and something is happening over at Kendal Coffee House in London. A group of 8 engineers aged between 19 and 32 meet over coffee, and they go on to found the Institution of Civil Engineers, the world's first professional engineering body. Some 200 years later, and 95,000 engineering professionals later, the laws of probability means that there are geniuses working among us right now. So Lina and I decided to start a scene, an inclusive community that celebrates a more inclusive engineering stereotype, to show that engineers can do yoga, they can go hiking, we can have social media accounts and fuel interests and hobbies, and we can actually make that better engineering. A scene to remind us that great ideas originate in coffee shops and over small conversations like tonight that are then put into action. Perhaps we could even inspire a few geniuses. So I wanted to give you all a little insight into where these fantastic women are today, because getting to know them was the real prize that I won that evening. And being here makes you all winners, regardless of whether you take that trophy home or it's awarded to an incredible 4th woman. So between 9 to 5, Bryony is a customer success manager at a construction tech startup in Canada. And from 5 to 9, she's skiing, hiking, and living her best outdoor life in the Canadian mountains. Katie has found her love for art and teaching and is leading the upskilling of thousands of engineers as knowledge lead, following a pretty epic sabbatical in Southeast Asia and South America. And Lina is now the engineering manager for an offshore wind project, dividing her time between London, Glasgow, and Norway, being the senior engineering role model that we all needed and were searching for at the time. At an event like this, I always wish I knew why each and every single one of you were nominated and the incredible things that you have achieved. And me, with the first impact being that I became more confident in speaking up, and the second being that I found my genius, my collective genius. The third impact of winning was, unsurprisingly, on my career. However, slightly surprising to me, it was less of an upwards career ladder climb, and more of a winding forest path through the woods. Sometimes it's felt easy, like I've been freewheeling downhill and the wind is blowing in my hair. Other times it's been like trying to cycle through a swamp with both handbrakes engaged whilst tied to a tree. So let's go back to 2019. I was back in the Temporary Works design office, having just spent 2 years on site, working as a site engineer on the 180-meter tall tower in Canary Wharf. Within a year of winning, my career had catapulted itself into the realm of digital strategy as transformation lead. During this time, I applied to become a chartered engineer, and I went on to win 3 more awards for my chartership application. I had the opportunity to travel to Hong Kong to learn from our joint venture, and through a series of rather unfortunate timings and global events, I also very quickly had to figure out how to upskill 1,400 people to work remotely through the pandemic. I then took a 1-year sabbatical. I built my own off-grid house contained within an ex-construction van. All the electrics came from solar power, yes, here in Britain. I reduced my total water consumption to 10 liters per day using a manual foot pump. I and reduced my belongings to 842 items. I switched to a plant-based diet, and I traveled slowly and locally. But then I hit a limit. So I started focusing more on my carbon handprint, although at the time I didn't know that that's what it was called. A carbon handprint is the opposite of a carbon footprint. Instead of metrics aimed at reducing your impact on the planet, it focuses on the actions you take that have a positive impact. As an engineer, the world truly is your mollusk, to quote Sir Terry Pratchett. The structures we build impact millions of people, for good and for bad. So I returned to work, this time in a new capacity. I eventually carved out a new niche as carbon estimator, working for an amazing woman, the only female line manager I've ever had in construction. We quantified carbon so that we could make carbon-based decisions alongside time and cost, and we used this on the Lower Thames crossing, marketed as the UK's greenest road, to win a £1.2 billion tender. Whilst I was very excited about the carbon progress we were making, it didn't quite feel like my professional handprint lived up to the same tempo and direct change that I was making with my personal footprint. I wanted to do something that was people and planet positive, not just emissions limiting. So let's do a final jump back to 2019. I set up my laptop, I presented to my 3 judges about my 2-week volunteering trip where I fundraised and traveled to build a 36-meter span suspension trail bridge for 4,300 people in the Rubavu region in Rwanda. I actually traveled with one of my colleagues who was nominated for the awards this year. Seniors Israel, I'm telling you. Those 2 weeks were life-changing for everyone involved. Children could now safely go to school all year round. Mothers didn't risk giving birth on the road on the hour-long walk it took to get to the hospital whilst in labor. Crops could be transported to the market to provide income even during the rainy season, by foot, by bike, or by cow. Rwanda taught me about human connection, nature, and happiness. It opened my eyes to the beauty and sustainability of building small. I'd been so focused on big impact, and excited as we are as engineers to build the biggest, the fastest, the next mega project, these bridges are the complete opposite. Ours was a humble 36 meters, and it applied circular economy principles, using old donated shipping cables instead of sending them to landfill. Small construction also meant a small carbon footprint. Speaking of small footprint, I was in awe at what Rwanda was doing. This country had just a fraction of the UK's resources, yet it took change into its own hands. They've banned single-use plastic bags, simple as that. Every first and third Sunday are car-free days. The major roads are closed for walking and cycling to improve health and reduce air pollution. Rwanda has 61% women in government, the highest percentage in the world. By comparison, the UK is at half that, 35% in the House of Commons, which is an all-time UK high. Can you imagine what would happen if we did all that here? I think we have a lot to learn, not in terms of talking about climate action or equality, but actually taking action. They also have strategic focus, not just on urban planning, but on rural planning, so that people can continue living in nature. When I say imagine the most beautiful place on earth, I'd guess that a lot of you will think of nature. A beach, a waterfall, an ocean, a mountainous landscape. Very few people will imagine a grey concrete and glass city. Nature is at the core of human happiness, and I think we've lost sight of that. So let's choose green over grey, eco over ego. Let's bring art and creativity back to create unique cities. Let's build with thoughtfulness and care and leave beautiful, natural structures that help people be happier and healthier. But building small doesn't mean it's not scalable. Small construction can have big impact. The 500 bridges built by Bridges to Prosperity to date in the last 20 years have allowed 2 million people to empower themselves out of poverty by improving rural access and human-powered last-mile connection. This is directly getting us closer to achieving the UN Sustainability Development Goal number 1, no poverty. These are the communities who are most impacted by climate change, in the form of increasingly erratic and severe rainy seasons and flooding. Just last weekend, a temporary bridge was washed away by unprecedented floods mid-construction, taking with it a mother, her 1-year-old son, and a 13-year-old student. I couldn't stop talking and thinking about the footbridge in Rwanda. I told my WICE judges, my colleagues, my chartership reviewers, my friends, my family, my in-laws, I told my gerbils, pretty much anyone who would make the mistake to stop and listen. And now you all just happen to be sat right here. So let's fast forward to 8 months ago. I decided to take the leap, to take Robert Frost's road less traveled of the 2 roads that diverged in the wood and build more bridges in Rwanda. This time for more than just 2 weeks. And for me, it really did make all the difference. I decided I wanted more lush green rolling hills, more grazing goats, and more smiling children. I now work with Bridges to Prosperity as the East Africa Corporate Manager, working on projects that are people and planet positive. On a people positive project, right? On a people-positive project, moments of human connection are just sprinkled throughout when you work shoulder to shoulder with the people who will be using and maintaining the completed bridge. A long day of bolt torquing in the hot sun ends with a spontaneous dance party in the yet-to-be-backfilled abutment. The excited children who greeted us every day have the least, but they enjoy and live life the most. Those moments are all about the people. And the people here today are what will make this experience unique and life-changing for you. It's the people you meet, the mentors you have, and the friends that you make. Winning empowered me very slowly to realize that my handprint, my actions, and the projects I chose to work on was in my hands. It gave me the confidence that the only way is not necessarily up. There are many different paths, and sometimes that path is a footpath in a forest. So that brings me back to present day, here and now, and our time travel comes to a close. Brian Eno has shown us that we are a collective genius in this room if we all put our minds and our hearts to it. Rwanda has proven that you don't need to be a rich or a developed country to make changes for the better. And I hope that I have shown you that you don't need to be a CEO or a senior executive to make a change. Change can start with you right here, right now. So congratulations once again to all of the nominees this evening, and a big thank you to the WICE Awards for inspiring us all to dream big, to aim high, and to support each other every step of the way. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tina Goddison.